This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.
All right, welcome everybody. Today is Monday, June 23rd, 2025. This is the meeting of the Energy Advisory Committee for the City of Easthampton. I'm Jamie Paquette, the chair of the committee, currently joined by committee member Connie Dawson and Josh Rosenblatt. Cassie Eckhoff will maybe be along shortly. We're also joined by Sophie Breton, the sustainability coordinator, and
Hannah Davis, energy advocate.
Hi, Hannah. Hi. Welcome.
Thanks.
And we'll give you a minute or a chance to introduce yourself and talk a little bit more in a minute. The first thing to do is, well, on the agenda is to review and approve the minutes from the last meeting. Now, we didn't really have a note taker at the last meeting, which was also very short, so we probably don't have minutes yet.
And you asked me to try to put that together, which I did not get it together to do because I was in a car accident on the Mass bike.
Fair enough.
Oh.
So we will.
But I will try to put something together that we can call the minutes from last meeting. Did you record it?
It's recorded. Yeah, I sent you.
I'll look at it.
Well, I sent you the link to the recording.
Okay.
That's posted on.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I'll figure it out.
If you get a chance, that's great. I understand that you weren't here. It's not ideal, but all right. So we will push the review and approval of those minutes until they are generated. And that means that we are here now for the public speak portion of the meeting. We do have one member of the public who has joined us. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Darlene Darvietto, Cherry Street. This is not, there's a separate committee for the bees then, right?
Yes, the Bees Committee is
Okay.
separate.
Yeah,
It
yeah, yeah.
includes me from this committee, you from the Conservation Committee, City Council.
Okay,
And,
yeah, I want to
yeah.
go to that next one. I'll look
Okay.
out for that.
I think, yeah, that meeting has not been set yet. The next one, there's been some discussion about when that's going to be. So,
Okay.
there just was something specific you have related to that you're interested
Yeah,
in.
no, I'm just kind of observing, but yeah, I will be attending that one.
Okay.
Would you mind spelling your last name for me?
Orvieto.
I was so wrong. You have to start again. I was so off.
O-R, V as in Victor, I-E-T-O.
Okay, that's a much more normal name than what I wrote. That's good. Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Okay. Is there anything else that you'd like
No,
to bring?
no.
Okay, just here to observe and what have you. Great. All right, well then we'll do some quick committee updates. So not on here because it came in too late. I do have an update for our committee, which is that John Pepe, who's been a member of this committee for some time, did send in his resignation on
Sorry
Friday
to hear that.
to step down from the committee. He sent it to me and the mayor. I won't read specifically what he said, but basically just that, he's trying to find the right place to put his energy right now, given his viewpoints of where things are needed.
Well, we certainly have appreciated him and we'll miss him.
I
Sure.
made sure to let him know that. Yes. So I certainly have
Absolutely.
his effort, his energy, his insight, his advocacy for lots of things. So sorry to see him go. I know, he's had some disappointment about some of the stuff he's been working on and hasn't been able to progress, but he's certainly been instrumental in helping us with lots of other things. So, so we will have a vacancy available on the committee that we will hopefully find somebody to fill. So if anybody knows, please recommend that we'll fill out the form, put an application in with the mayor's office, and hopefully we can get that back in place. So that's a quick bit of sad news for our committee. But he also did say, if we need stuff or if he's, depending on what's going on, he's happy to jump in or give input or provide some labor as needed. So on the Bees Committee update, we haven't had a meeting in a little while. I think the next one is still yet to be set.
Yes,
Yeah. But and some of the things we've been working on, some like invasive removal days, and then the garden tour, which got pushed, right, because of the weather.
Yeah.
The lovely weather we've been having each and every weekend. Update on when that's gonna be?
We actually are having a meeting, I want to say either tomorrow or Wednesday to pick a rescheduled date. So it
Okay.
will happen. It will happen before the year is over. We're looking at a couple weekends in September, but we haven't nailed anything down definitively.
Okay.
Obviously, the gardens will look very different in September than they do in June, but
True.
still beautiful.
Right. Pollinators
So,
live here year round. So there's
exactly,
always.
yeah, and hopefully it will be walkable. We were very kind of on the fence about whether or not we wanted to cancel, but the morning of it was pretty obvious that it just wasn't gonna work.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so September tentatively. but-
Okay. Well, on the positive side, and just have it on here specifically, but like at least like cultural chaos, the weather cleared up long
Yeah.
enough for that to happen.
Totally.
And I know bees and energy advisory and, you know, you, Sophie and Hannah had a presence there. And how did that go?
It was
I went there
fantastic.
briefly.
Yeah, the Girl Scouts had purchased a couple trays of milkweed and we were giving it away for a suggested donation and we made a little over $200 actually. towards the
Wow.
garden.
That's
So we'll be able to
amazing.
purchase some plants and we're looking in to purchase some signage and some barriers around the garden as well to keep it separate from the lawn that the DPW will mow. So we have a little bit of money set aside now to get the garden project started, and I'm working on a grant for $500 through this organization that funds local community gardens. So that's
Okay.
due sometime in July. Hopefully we'll hear back within the next couple of months. But just waiting to have another piece meeting to talk about how we want to kind of get started now that we have some donations for
Yeah.
it. So it was very successful. Yeah.
And the demonstration garden,
Yes.
which we maybe had mentioned here before, but it's going in like on the mill buildings, like out in the back.
Correct,
by the
yeah.
Trail.
Behind Eastworks.
Yeah.
We're still trying to pin down an exact location, but Sean and I took a ride over there a couple weeks back and are looking at put these two strips of grass next to the walkway so that it's accessible to the public and they can come enjoy it. It's not kind of separate off to the side. So
I guess it's gonna be on both sides. That's like such a good
Isn't that
idea.
cute? Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
really gonna be nice.
Yeah.
so that's hoping to get that rolling.
Lovely. All right, that's the Bees Committee update. So the other big update that we have is we welcome our energy advocate.
Yay!
Long last. So why don't you give us a quick rundown?
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm delighted to be here. Thank you so much. My name is Hannah Davis. I use they, them pronouns. I am Easthampton's newest energy advocate. And so my entire role is providing service to help residents get involved with mass save incentives, get them signed up for home energy assessments, get them some savings on their energy bills. So the nuts and bolts way that I do that, right now we're doing some pretty heavy community outreach. We've started with electronic forms of outreach, kind of the low-hanging fruit of doing things like newsletters. We're looking at potentially releasing a press release soon and some potential social media outreach. In the coming months, we're going to do some more intensive in-person outreach at community events. I'm going to have office hours at the library starting in July, every second Tuesday evening. And my inbox is always open and we have plenty of ways to reach out and start to get residents involved in getting some energy savings.
Nice.
Yeah.
And so as your main focus is with the Community First Partnership, right, which we have separately on the agenda, but obviously that encompasses our town as well as Northampton and Westhampton.
Yeah.
Right. So are you also doing office hours in other places or are you spreading your time out?
Yeah, we're working on getting that set up. Right now I have tabling opportunities set up for both Easthampton and Northampton and things like the Westhampton transfer station, Northampton farmers markets. There are several Northampton like street fairs coming up throughout the year. I'm going to apply to be at those. And as well as like arts nights out. And regular concert series coming up.
Yeah.
Hannah, what are the hours at the library? I missed that.
I believe it's 6 to 7 p.m.
Okay.
I'll double check it just to make sure, but
And at the main library or the library annex?
main library.
Main library. Yeah. Been to the new space yet. So
Very nice.
yeah, I've heard.
And remind me, is the library going to be creating the promotional materials for
Yes.
that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So there's a flyer forthcoming. I need to send over a headshot so that people recognize who I am.
Mhm.
And then that should be ready to go. Yeah.
Every Tuesday?
Every
Okay.
second Tuesday. So once a month.
Every second, okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nice.
Please come ask questions. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Welcome, Hannah.
So much.
And where were you before this?
I was a grant writer for the city of Somerville out
Okay.
near Boston. it was cool. It was a nice opportunity to kind of see a cross section of the city, but I'm really excited about having more local work.
Mhm.
Seeing my impact.
Did you move out this way, I guess?
I've been living here.
You have been living here,
Yeah, I was
okay.
working
Oh,
remotely for them, and
Okay.
I went in once a month.
All right.
It was fine, but I'm really excited to be working more locally and doing things that are more energy and environment related.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
We're excited to have you, so thank you.
I have a question that it's close to my heart. Have you gotten any of the materials from that save yet?
Not yet.
We put in the order form.
We did.
Yeah, finally sent the order form. It's
Oh,
in.
that's progress.
Yeah, we're making progress slowly but surely.
Yeah.
So ideally, for those who haven't heard, we're gonna have a sample kit of instant savings measures. So things like water aerators, shower heads, what's the thing you plug into the wall? The
Power strip.
Yes,
Yeah,
thank
yeah,
you.
the Smart strips or whatever, yeah. Good.
So then people can kind of check out,
Mhm.
what they might be able to get from a home energy assessment.
Okay.
So I also want you to know that Hannah walked up and down Cottage Street for many hours during cultural chaos as well,
Yes.
carrying an umbrella, a decorated umbrella. So
Yeah.
you know, she did put in her hours.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. It was fun.
Excellent.
Yeah.
What's the next thing I was gonna say? I lost it. But, yeah, again, welcome. Very excited. If there's, ways that we can help you while you're here and while you're, working through, I know it's right.
Yeah.
The Community First Partnership is 2 years or 3 years?
I believe it's 3.
3, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you playing a long game.
Yeah.
And figuring that out, what's going to work best, but obviously a lot of opportunity to do some real good and to get a lot of people into the program.
That's the dream.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that certainly is. So
Yeah.
wonderful to have you.
Yeah. Thank you so
here.
much.
All right, so sort of related to that is our next thing on the agenda is related to our green communities and climate leader communities status and certifications. We talked the last time about the new climate leader certification. In the meantime, we did, a press release did go out about that. I don't know that got picked up anywhere in the end.
I think some news outlets had already written about it.
Yeah.
Separate.
I did see it. I think the Gazette did say something about it.
Did they mention
Yeah,
somewhere? Okay.
yeah.
Okay, my Gazette subscription has lapsed a little bit right now, so I did not actively follow up with that. But anyway, nice that we've got the word out there a little bit. I've left this on here, just like the grant opportunities that this opens up for us, just as a reminder, as we all are thinking and seeing things going on, but there are two major things that the climate leader certification opens up, which is technical support grants and decarbonization accelerator grants. So technical support for thinking about what could be done, putting nuts and bolts together for potential projects, and the accelerator grants are for actual sort of on the ground, like energy, carbon savings.
But these are only things that for the city itself, right? The
Correct.
infrastructure of the city, not
City run or led projects that are going to result in specific
Right.
things. But
So we should be talking to some of the other people, like the DPW and stuff like that, about.
yeah, unfortunately, Sophie is part of the
Yes,
DPW.
so I do actually have a couple of updates on this.
Okay, great.
So I think that the first round of the decarbonization accelerator grants are due on August 1st, but they do want you to put in a notice of intent 3 months prior to
Yeah.
applying.
Yeah.
So we definitely missed that window. The next round of decarbonization accelerator grants are due, I want to say February 1st, which gives us a lot more time to kind of bulk up the application.
Mhm.
I do have a meeting with the mayor and Lindsay on Wednesday to talk about some of kind of my preliminary ideas, which would be great to kind of get your thoughts on as well. And I can bring back sort of anything to them.
Mhm.
Based on the roadmap that Cassie put together, it seems like some kind of rooftop solar project for City Hall is absolutely in the cards. I spoke with Beth Greenblatt from Beacon Integrated Solutions, who's the city's solar consultant, and she gave me, I think it was an integrated grid agreement or something that we have with Eversource that basically says, yes, you can put an X amount kilowatt panel on the roof.
Mhm.
I think that there was a bit of an inconsistency between that agreement and what was on the decarbonization roadmap. I think it was like 66 kilowatts was approved by Eversource, and I think 98 was what we were shooting for.
Okay.
So there is a bit of a sort of, there's some room there.
Yeah.
And my meeting with the mayor is to kind of bring forth these ideas and then bring them back to Beth for VP Integrated Solutions to talk about kind of what those next steps are. But
And so Beth, what's her last name? Sorry.
Greenblatt,
Thank you.
she's very helpful and super knowledgeable. And I had a meeting with her a couple months ago and she threw so much information at me about kind of where the city's at and things they've been thinking about. So yeah, so I have a meeting. We're going to talk about potential rooftop solar through this grant. One of the other things that I noticed in the roadmap was an installation next to the water facility.
Where's that?
Trying to remember the, I think it's next to the water and sewer.
Do you mean the solar panels that are already in place? Those solar?
No, it was, I'll double check if I have my computer with me, I would pull it up, but it was a potential installation next to the, I want to say the water treatment facility.
Hmm.
'Cause there is a water related plant on Henderson.
Okay,
For Hendricks, yeah.
I
Hendricks, that's it, yeah.
don't think it was that one, because
Okay.
this roadmap was, I think, written after that was installed, if I'm not
Okay.
mistaken.
Okay.
I will definitely double check though, obviously, before I go bring it to the mayor, but I think one of the stipulations through the grant is that the solar panels have to serve an on-site load.
Yeah,
So identifying buildings that the solar panels can directly provide energy to, and I think Beth had a couple of concerns about the public safety complex and a canopy over the public safety complex,
okay.
given some potential issues related to digging up the parking lot and environmental impacts of digging up the parking lot, was something
Okay.
that she had mentioned.
Imagine that would be the same here at 50 Payson. We get the proximity to the pond and all that.
I think
Yeah.
it's that. So that's why she was kind of steering me more towards rooftop solar as opposed to canopies. One of the
Right.
things she did mention with canopies is in the school parking lot.
Yes, okay, good.
So that might be
Mention
another avenue to take for sure. And I think the roadmap mentions some stuff about that as well, so I can pull those figures.
Mhm.
But yeah, so things are kind of moving in that regard. Unfortunately, it's such a big gap between August and February that they want these
Yeah.
applications in.
Well, I mean, it is time consuming to put it all together and to really have everything, locked down.
For sure.
So, yeah, that's good. I
What
did
about
throw,
level 3 chargers? Would that fall under
those are, I mean, yeah, that's,
night little pie in the sky?
it's not an urbanization thing to do that, I would
No.
say, because it's serving people who have those vehicles, but it's not prompting the purchase of those vehicles. Whereas like a solar
Right.
panel is immediately displacing some
Yes.
amount of fossil fuel.
Okay,
So,
I see. I
but
see.
a technical support grant to help us figure out how to do that could be something, like that could be another area for something like that, like help us figure out how to deploy these things around to promote the adoption of EVs or whatever.
So just because I don't know these things, I don't remember what the decarbonization accelerator grant, that sort of sounds familiar to me, but what is that? And what would we do to get a grant that's a decarbonization accelerator as opposed to technical support?
Technical support is for planning, accelerator is for execution.
Perfect, thank you. That's all I need to know.
So,
Okay, perfect, thank you. That was so good.
And as for the level 3s, I've been speaking with a representative at Eversource, and the level 3 incentives for the chargers have been exhausted and will not come back until 2027, I think is their timeline, which is unfortunate. Obviously, it doesn't mean we can't pursue it and front the payment and then potentially get some type of
mhm.
rebate after the fact. But it's something that I run into a lot of roadblocks with at every.
I think there have been right from
Yeah.
the beginning. I don't think
Yeah.
they've been very cooperative, is my understanding. Well, okay. All right, this is good. This is good. The climate leader certification
Mhm.
eventually will be useful for us, I'm sure.
Yeah, and I had thrown solar canopies down sort of under a
Yeah.
new business thing because the mayor had sent something around about a solar canopy working group
Yeah.
that has been going throughout the Commonwealth and I guess trying to figure out
Mhm.
how to promote, right, and like what the best practices are, like those sorts of things.
Yes, yeah.
So
Do I get to ask any questions about specific topics, or how do you do that?
technically, no, but go ahead.
Because I wouldn't know like what questions to ask until it comes up.
Yeah,
So if they're gonna be, so it sounds like we're gonna try to put solar on some of the bigger buildings in the city, like City Hall. Have they figured out how to recycle these, solar panels?
Good question. Yes. In fact, I was just an article I was reading last week about a giant solar panel recycling facility that's I think in Georgia. That's just getting up and running. So there is active solar panel recycling that already happens, and now they are trying to scale it a little bit more because there are going to be more and more of them that make sense to either replace or they're kind of reaching end of life. You know, some of the early ones that went in, and of course, as efficiencies are gained, it makes sense to sort of swap them out for ones that will produce more power or what have you.
Yeah, or if they just get too old or don't function anymore.
Yeah, and there's
Like,
so
I know
much.
they can't recycle the wind turbines, which is really sad. They're a wreck.
Yeah, a lot of those, right? Because like fiberglass and whatever. Like, I don't
Yeah.
know what the process is for that, but
Yeah.
with solar, because there's so many elements and metals in them, it makes it economically
Yes.
viable to like pull those out of there
Yeah.
and make them rework. But I'm not an expert in that, but I know that there has been some recent news around that in progress. So
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Thank you.
you're welcome. All right, moving into the next little bit, I just noted that our Green Communities annual report, due later this year, in November. I said I have 2024 in there. I don't know if that's actually.
Is that your
2024.
responsibility?
So yeah, you let us know if there's anything that you need for that. And then with that, the Green Communities competitive grants, another grant thing, there's another fall.
Yeah.
That I think usually an October, November deadline for
Okay.
that.
So we should probably all actually try to look at the website and
Yeah.
see if we have any great ideas, right?
Yeah, if there's anything that pops up that we want to do. So, yeah, so if there's anything else that we think of from a green community standpoint, and that's
Yeah.
even like bees stuff too,
Yeah,
right?
oh,
Like
yeah,
little
yeah.
things for that
For
to
sure.
do demonstrations or what have you.
Yeah.
And I know Hannah, your program is funded elsewise, but if there's stuff that makes sense, or you think, oh, it would be great if we had a little bit more money to be able to do
Yeah,
X, Y, Z,
absolutely.
that fits in with the green communities rubric, then that's something big to bring up, certainly. But
Yeah.
one of those things I was like, oh yeah, I should think about that in between meetings. Oh right, I didn't actually think about that.
Are those posted now and they're due in
I
October?
believe so. That's twice a year. There's
Twice a
2
year.
grant cycles per year
Okay.
for the green communities. So,
Cool, yeah, I'll definitely.
Yeah.
I think it already is. It already is. Awesome.
all right, so into the somewhat new and ongoing electrification and efficiency programs. The Electrify Easthampton, Northampton one with our folks from Revise. If we have an update there, I haven't heard or seen anything there in
It's
some
been
time.
an extremely slow process.
But, yeah.
I think, yeah, I mean, you guys know better than anyone. Yeah, I think that last I heard, they were still in the process of having their legal team review our MOA. And I think review the collaborative agreement that we had put forth. I had sent a couple of weeks back a letter of recommendation that these two programs be combined. And I kind of talked about why Community First and Electrify work together. I sent it to them. I think it's making way through their
When
legal
you say
team.
they, is like Revise or Mass CEC?
Sorry, Mass CEC.
Mass
I
CEC,
sent it to
okay.
Revise and Mass CEC. I got the okay from Revise's end. I have not heard back from Mass CEC.
Okay.
So I think probably kind of touching base with them, getting on a call in the near future, especially with Hannah,
Mhm.
would be beneficial, because it's been kind of, there's
Yeah.
not a ton of communication.
Okay.
And the communication I have gotten has been, oh yeah, we're working on it. So Community First is definitely rolling out a lot faster.
Yeah. Any word or input from Gabi or Ben over in Northampton regarding that part of it?
No, I think the last meeting that we were on, Gabi was on vacation actually, so it was Ben and I were in a similar place of like, just let us know when everything is all set, when we can
Okay.
kind of start. And so
Okay.
Northampton's in the same boat.
Revise would also like to sort of combine these things in some way, like they, okay.
Yeah,
So So that can mean like reworking whatever contract they're going to sign, or how would that work in light of Hannah?
Right, so
Place?
I think that the contracts are still independent,
Mhm.
and I don't think that this collaboration should impact the MOA that was already signed. I think, and the way that I phrased this in the letter that I had sent them was just that using like a co-branding approach when we promote it
Okay,
and adding electrified language to Northampton and Easthampton posters.
got it.
Obviously not West Hampton because they're not involved in the electrified program, but
Right.
just when we do promote community first, when we are working specifically with Northampton and Easthampton, saying, oh, by the way, there's additional incentives and rebates offered through this separate program,
Okay,
and kind of using those outreach opportunities to also promote electrify
Okay.
is kind of, I think, what they were hoping for, and I
Mhm.
don't think should impact anything in our contracts.
okay. But does that impact Revise getting up and running with their, are they sort of waiting for all this to settle before they do, or are they doing their thing already?
They're doing their thing already, but specifically with community first. I don't think that they're looking into any outreach events to promote the Mass CEC funds. I think that everything that they're doing is specific to Northampton, West Hampton, Easthampton community
That's
first.
what Revise is doing so far?
Correct.
Okay,
And working mainly with Hannah to kind of coordinate those outreach events and things like that. So,
okay. Got it. And then whatever incentives they're gonna have to offer will be done through people that come in through any of those avenues potentially?
exactly, yeah.
Okay.
So,
So if you're bringing in people to the program, you could offer them those incentives.
exactly.
All right.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, it makes total sense. I don't really know why it's taking them so long to approve the letter and.
Yeah,
Because yeah.
yeah. Well, I appreciate you trying to thread that needle because
Yeah.
it certainly has always, made sense to package them all together. So on the Community First Partnership, I know you've already spoken a little bit here about your work, but is there anything else with that you'd like to report on or highlight?
That's a great question. I think, Sophie, is there anything else that I missed or we should add?
So
Yeah.
I think you kind of talked about next steps, some of the events that you're going to be at. We're still kind of waiting. That's the other thing is we're waiting on approval from All In Energy, the program sponsors, to kind of do like there's certain outreach opportunities that they want to be able to publicize a press release before we're able to.
Yeah.
So we got the okay to do in-person stuff. We got the okay to distribute flyers, but then there's some kind of holdup in terms of if we're allowed to put out a press release about the program, if we're allowed to put out any kind of written communication before they are ready from a legal standpoint to be able to do that. So that's kind of, it's
Snore away, honestly.
Lost Connie.
Just like a kid.
It's so funny. I made a poster for Revise because we've been directing people through the Mass Save intake channel, but there's also the option to put them straight through the Revise intake channel. So I created a QR code flyer for that. It's taken 4 weeks.
Maybe more.
I had to get it approved and then they came back with corrections and then I made the corrections and then Mass CEC came in with corrections and it's like,
I can't take that somewhere.
All right. Well,
yeah, so.
because as far as like your tracking and reporting requirements, like
Yes.
what, how often, because I forget now, is it like quarterly, yearly?
Yeah, so it depends on the thing that we're tracking or reporting on. They request that we turn in an online form that summarizes each outreach activity that we've done, ideally relatively regularly, but it definitely has to be done by the end of the month.
Mhm.
And so I have my own Notion database that I've been using to keep
Okay.
track of my outreach activities and the updates for each of those. And then I work from that to fill out that tracking once it's due. Yeah. And then soon they're going to come out with numerical goals for approximately how many people we're trying to get enrolled in the program. Hasn't come out yet, but ideally soon.
Gotta talk about it.
Yeah.
Let's do everything except set the goals. I like it.
Take 6 weeks to figure out. Yeah. Okay. Thank you again.
Yeah.
Quickly, Cassie is not here, but the EDIC Business Recognition Program, she did draft a letter. I was very slow in responding to her about trying to get that over to the mayor. So she, took it and sent it over herself at the end of last week or middle of last week. And requested a small amount of money, about $300, I think, to make the decals, thank you, for that. So, we're waiting for the mayor to respond on whether we can get a little bit of money floated to us to cover that cost. And then other than that, we've got the criteria set for what it will take for businesses to earn that. So, hopefully we can get a word on that soon and start getting that rolled out. And if she shows up, she can offer any other updates that we have from there. On the public outreach events, we've talked a little bit about some of the ones that have happened recently or will be rescheduled. And Hannah, you talked about other public facing events, Sophie as well. Is there an eco initiative group meeting tomorrow?
Correct, yeah.
And I don't know if John will be stepping aside from that at this point.
I have not heard anything from him. I invited him to the meeting. I sent him the agenda, so I'm not sure if he's planning to attend, but our next kind of things that we're looking at, we moved the compost demonstration to the library annex just because there was a little bit of uncertainty with the it was going to be at the farmers market in July. It's now at the library annex.
It doesn't have to be outdoors.
It's outdoors, yeah. But we're doing like in the area in front of the library.
Oh,
annex.
I
And
like
if for
that.
whatever reason the weather is bad, they did give us approval to move inside and have it done
Do it on a
inside.
tarp or whatever.
Yeah, right, exactly. Get dirt everywhere.
Yeah. It's
That's
where's the library?
so that's gonna be at the beginning of August. I think kind of future looking stuff, we're gonna talk tomorrow about like what other things we might want to add to the calendar. And then sometime in November, we were gonna do a climate sort of environmental themed trivia night at Marigold Theater. I've been in contact loosely with them, and they're going to make their November trivia environment theme, and we can have kind of whatever presence we want there in terms of things we want to promote or things we want to educate the public on.
Okay.
So that's kind of like November time is when we're looking to kind of wrap up the initial outreach and then making decisions about what we want to do next in terms of continuing the education and getting the public involved.
And also, I,
Do that to me earlier.
and
Sorry, nice try, Josh.
Everyone wave your hands.
There we go.
There you go.
also, I had a conversation with the people who will take your bikes during cultural chaos and like what
The
you park in there.
ballets, yes.
And I have his card. I don't think I have it with me, but there's someone because I would love to have us do a bike event for kids where they go through some kind of cones that have been set up, and then they get a little certificate, and they have to give the right hand signals and all that stuff. As I fondly remember from my childhood, and he said and they call them rodeos, bicycle rodeos.
Yeah.
So I did have a conversation with them. They seem to think they'd be happy to organize something for us. And they said usually the summer, the beginning, the spring and fall are the times to do it. And so I think we were talking about how we still have a month where we didn't have something specific planned, so we could do it then. September? Was that what?
September, we were looking at, it's like International Energy Week or something in September. October, though, is the International Walk and Bike to School.
Oh, well, then that's when we should do it.
Exactly. And I actually double checked this morning, and Easthampton did register at least Mountain View School to be part of like the.
So we should get in touch with
So
them
I was gonna
too.
get in touch with the
Okay.
school department and see if we can kind of add on
Yeah.
like an energy efficient component to it. 'Cause I think right now it's really safety focused.
Right, which is great, but we can
Absolutely.
just add on. And
Add
also,
better.
we, as far as I know, we are gonna go to the folk festival. We're in
Arcadia?
Yeah, Arcadia.
Okay.
Yeah, we have permission for a table. We could use a banner.
Okay.
There's many.
Well, again, you can make a request.
The grant funds should be able to cover it. We are still waiting for the Eversource payment. Speaking with Almond
Grant funds from which, I'm sorry,
from Eversource
for,
for community.
oh, okay.
For community first, yeah.
But I
For
feel
you to have a
like,
banner.
I feel like we should have it, because that will be a mass save banner.
Oh, actually, we did get those. I'm sorry, on the order form.
Yeah. Yeah, but I feel like either the Energy Advisory Committee or
Okay, yeah.
ECHO should have a banner, like when we were at Cultural Chaos and we set up and everything, we had no way to identify ourselves, although Sophie did make a very nice poster on her own, but we should have had something we could just string up. I mean, if we're gonna be doing all these outreach events, we need something to identify ourselves with. So,
Okay.
Also, we,
You want to
for
price
whatever
something out, it
reason,
might make a request and we can
Okay.
figure out how to.
and the other reason, for whatever reason, we do not have access to a tent.
Right.
We are not allowed to use the tents that are owned by the city. It's been made very clear. So we
Right.
should
And
be
so we
able to.
borrowed a family tent.
Yeah.
for-
And when we did the trees, we used my tent, my little baby
Right.
tent. So that's another thing. Maybe we just need to buy one for ourselves if we're not allowed to use the ones the city owns.
Why is that? Why aren't we allowed to use the city one?
That's it right now, Josh.
Did someone abuse it once?
No, I have no idea why.
Wow.
That's just the reality. So,
I know during cultural chaos, I had asked the planning department, do I have access to a city tent as a city employee, and was told that all of the city tents will be in use during cultural chaos.
Mhm.
So it is my hope that during a less busy event, I might be able to get my hands on one,
Okay,
but I know.
I have nothing to
I
say.
know there's been some issues, and I
I have
have
nothing to
asked the
say.
mayor if she would be willing to, from her office, purchase $100 weighted tent for.
Is that all they
sustainable things.
cost?
The ones
Yeah.
I found on Amazon, like $100.
yeah, you can walk in, you can go get one at Tractor Supply right now for like $100.
And they're the same, because the one I have isn't as big as the ones that,
The ones I was looking at.
like
were
your
10 by 10.
father's.
That was 10
That
by
was a
10.
very nice tent. Okay, oh, good, that's
And it
good
was
to know.
it was the size that is the standard 10
Yeah,
by 10, $100.
Perfect.
I don't know if they're waiting for the fiscal year to be over before they
at
issue
the end
any
of the
more
month,
payments.
yeah, that could be,
I know there's been some holdups there, and I think POs were all supposed to be in sometime today, so
okay,
So we can talk about this some more tomorrow.
all right.
or after July 1st.
Yeah, and maybe there can be some sort of ongoing, small,
Yeah.
eco initiatives and budget that can be used for.
Yeah.
These stuff, whatever.
Yeah, that would be great if we could have it be both. That, and it would make
Yeah,
more
just-
sense too. Yeah,
And then,
because we do
yeah.
tend to do stuff together a
So we
lot
could be
now.
in charge
Yeah,
of the stuff for or what have you.
yeah, I like that. Okay.
Yeah, that would be helpful, just even to have like little, petty cash types of things too for events. Maybe get, coffee for volunteers or whatever.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else? Oh, did we have any part, or did you all have any part? I sure did, in the Daily Fields anniversary event this past weekend?
No.
Okay, just wasn't sure if anybody actually went to that.
No.
I was running around all over the place, so did not able to stop by and see how it went. All right, so into quickly municipal aggregation updates. So last time around, we had an upcoming bid day, which was potentially going to be the actual kickstart of the aggregation program and plan. When we got online with Good Energy that day, they had received bids. We had done a pre-meeting like about what we might expect to see. Then we got the actual numbers. And they were very close to what we would want to see to actually put things in place, but they weren't quite there. So the decision was made to keep the bid open for the time being and sort of see what happens to prices on a rolling basis rather than close it and do an official reopening.
Yeah.
So we're going to keep it open for the time being. And they're going to get back to us if and when the pricing becomes advantageous to actually do that. So I forget, I don't have the exact numbers pulled up in front of me, but what we want to see is that the baseline aggregation product, which is, this standard amount of renewables required by law plus 10%, I think it is, be cheaper than the base Eversource rate, right? And it was not quite cheaper than that. It was very, almost equivalent, but not quite. And so we want to be able to say, hey, we're going to do this and it's going to be cheaper. And then we got to figure out the length of the contract. We want to lock that in for.
Can you identify what the baseline product is again? It's
The baseline product is the amount of renewables that's already required by law, plus an additional 10%
okay.
that is requisitioned by the aggregation program. There are 3 products, right? So that's the base product. Then there's the opt-down product, which is, just like what you would get from Eversource essentially. And that would also, we certainly would want that also to be cheaper, which it would be. But that would require people to opt down to that. And then there's the opt up, which is the 100% renewables versus plus 50%. I really feel bad. I should know this, but I think it's 100%.
Okay.
And that is almost assuredly going to be a little bit more expensive than
Right.
what you would get, but that's, you know, you have to opt up to that one as well. So, yeah, so we just have to wait and see. And then there's changes in the way Eversource and utilities are rolling out pricing now. Slightly different calendar alignment, which means I think there's going to be another chance for when they have to, like, you know, roll out things. I think maybe not towards the beginning of next year. I think it's July. Again, there's so much stuff and I haven't internalized all this because I don't deal with it day to day, but the folks at Good Energy do. And so they're, you know, they're great to have as guides to this process. So if and when, you know, we get advantageous pricing, then we'll go and move forward with that. It could be on a relatively short-term basis where we, you know, get it up and running for, you know, 18 months or something like that. Or it could be something that we feel comfortable locking in for 3 or 4 years. It'll just kind of depend on which company it is and what they're able to do for us. You know, there's obviously a lot of volatility in the market all over the place right now. So, yeah, I'd say the only expectation is that we don't know what's going to happen. Yeah. As more stuff happens with that, then we'll have to put more things into place. But for now, that remains sort of in its current state of waiting.
I apologize for my lack of knowledge.
It's
So
okay.
Good Energy is
Yeah.
administering the bids.
They are administering this,
Okay.
yeah. So they are the consultant that we've contracted with for this.
Okay.
So yeah. So, but the city pays them no money.
City. Okay.
They get their money once the program is up and running. So, you know, while that means that, you know, they have an incentive to want us to get the program up and running, they're also, you know, not going to push us into something that doesn't make sense.
Okay.
And, you know, I mean, I've built up a decent amount of trust with them,
Yeah.
you know, over the years, and they work with a lot of other municipalities, right? And have had good, references, you know, when we did that
Yeah.
part of the process. So,
Great. That's
yeah,
good to know.
so they, you know, they know this inside and out, and they've got the experts on staff, legal and otherwise, to help us.
Great.
So, yeah, so more on that when we have more. That brings us pretty much to the end here. I've kept a sort of other old business on here, just a rubric for anything that, you know, we've previously talked about, like buses and whatnot, but I don't know that anybody has anything there or any new business outside of the solar canopies thing that I mentioned here that we've already touched on in the grant discussion.
You had on the agenda city committee requirements.
That's if and when aggregation moves forward, then
Oh,
we have,
okay,
then we have
got it.
additional requirements for public notifications and meetings that they.
Okay. Okay.
But we do not have at the moment, so I've glossed it over.
Well, I just like to say that I feel like our outreach program is doing pretty well. I feel like we have a lot of things coming up, and we've already done some stuff, so I'm feeling pretty good about it. Thank you, Sophie.
Yes, it's
Yeah.
great to see that part being more active because we've talked about it for a long time. It's great to have, you know, staff members here involved that are pushing this stuff.
And then also finding ways to just do things with bees. Like if bees has something they want to do, you know, we should collaborate with them.
Yep.
Especially since we're a smaller group and they're a smaller group than they were too. So
Yeah, a little bit, but they've got, you know, really good active people over there who are, you know, knowledgeable and want
yeah.
to get the word out about
But I
it.
mean, in terms of like outreach stuff is where you
Yeah.
need live bodies. So,
Right.
yeah.
Okay, well, anybody have anything else that we have not discussed so far?
My only other new business is
Yes.
recording. So the large building energy reporting
Oh, yeah.
line is coming up this Monday. I believe I have met all of the requirements.
Okay.
It's the first time that the program has kind of been out there, and I
Right.
watched all of the training videos, and I've been communicative with the help desk. And as of right now, all of the buildings, there were a couple of buildings that were not applicable, like the Pepin School and Maple Street School, and then the water tank that they wanted us to claim. I thought those scrubbed from the list. So
Okay.
in future years too, they will not request any data from those. They did not have Mountain View School on. Yeah, so I then put in a request to claim Mountain View
Okay,
School.
yeah,
They approved that request, but they have not sent me like a unique building identifier code. So that's
Okay.
one outstanding thing, and that is on their end. I think everything else I've put in the energy data for the last 12 months. I've answered all the questions. I've shared it with DOER. The only thing I have heard back is that there's a missing building identifier code for the building that I am waiting to get the
Yeah,
code on.
right.
So, I think that we should be all set there. If I don't get the code in the next couple of days, I'm gonna be away this next week. I'll just submit an extension request for that one property.
There.
Is it, oh, it's motion activated?
Motion sensor,
Oh, I
yeah,
see.
so it's still.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
I think that's all set.
I guess the only other question I have about old business is, did anything ever happen with having a trolley going around the city? If you remember, Connie Denham with
Oh,
an electric trolley, that just.
It's in the climate action plan.
Yeah, yeah.
Doesn't mean it's gonna happen, but.
no, I've not,
And
I've heard
there's
nothing
no,
more.
okay, I'll
Yeah.
send Connie a text.
I have something too. It's not necessarily on the agenda, but we're just talking about the other day with some friends. Cassie did so much work on that effort to have the abandoned businesses be accountable.
Right.
And where did that go to city council? And where it seems to be stalled right now. What's going on with that?
In terms of like the property tax issue with them, or like what?
Well, I mean, just being able to enforce fines if people are letting their buildings sit fallow.
I
You
know
know,
that I mean, something went through city council and passed on that a while back. And that was supposed to like, try to, encourage / enforce at least like, better listings of open properties and things like that.
Yeah.
But
But I remember part of it was going to be that if they didn't take efforts to beautify their storefront, they would be charged fines. And, Moriarty has done absolutely nothing to that building on the corner of Union and Main.
yeah.
Are they being charged?
I don't know, and unfortunately, that's like outside the purview of our committee here. That's more, I think that, I don't know if that came through planning. I mean, it must have been planning or city council, like ordinances or something like that. So,
Okay.
yeah, so I don't have, I wish I knew more, but.
I'll start asking around. I was just in case anyone didn't know, but yeah, I'll start asking around.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of hard work that went into that, and it doesn't seem like it got anywhere.
Yeah. Yeah, there's
Okay.
definitely still some sore points in town.
Yeah.
Um,
Thank you for letting me take up the time for that.
yeah. No worries, Josh. All right. Anything else for our committee right now?
I don't think so.
Okay. I do see we had one additional member of the public that joined us later. I know you missed public speak, but if there was something that you came here concerned about or interested in, you can feel free to unmute yourself and I'll give you an opportunity to speak now.
Nope.
Okay, no worries. People are not required. So with that,
I have a quick comment, something I learned about solar I wanted to share with the committee.
please.
If a home is sold and the new buyer does not want solar panels, the seller must pay the cost of removal and disposal. And apparently it's extremely expensive.
So no, actually, this is like a state law, what?
It's just the way it works with when you're selling.
Actually, a little clarification there. If there are different, sometimes when people get solar panels, they buy them outright. And if that's the case, then it's just part of the house. If the buyer doesn't want them, the buyer just doesn't buy that house. Things are different when a buyer gets talked into leasing or letting someone use their roof. And then it becomes the buyer of the house has two transactions. Now they have a transaction with the seller of the house, and then they have a transaction with whoever owns the panels. So I don't.
Yeah, because the solar company has to agree to the new buyer.
If it's
place a lien on the property. So yeah, people need to get educated on this stuff because apparently it's not as cut and dry and simple as it.
Yeah, where are you getting that information from?
From a friend who does a lot in real estate.
Okay.
Okay, well,
I know that's definitely a complicating factor for home sales.
Right.
transferring those contracts over or what have you.
Or not, because
Or not.
sometimes you can't, and then you have to let go of a buyer if you're not willing to pay for the disposal of your solar panels.
Right.
Horrible.
Okay, well, let's maybe get our complete facts straight if we're gonna continue
Well, I think we
going
do.
more on that.
Well, it sounds like it's a complicated situation if someone has leased solar panels and then wants to sell their house, then there are contracts that have to be dealt with.
Yeah, and it may not necessarily be something that the EAC can do anything about.
No, it's not something, no, I mean, as far as like public awareness, like those sorts of things, I mean, it is a little bit on, the companies that are doing these transactions.
Yep.
And homeowners themselves, but I mean, there's a lot of talk out in the world these days, right, of like practices of residential solar companies and the ethics of the things that they
Right.
do. And
Absolutely. That doesn't mean that solar panels are bad.
oh no, you never
Well,
hear
they
me say
can be
that.
if they go into a landfill, if you have to dispose of them and pay for their disposal. So, there's a lot of different factors. It's not cut and dry.
Okay,
You never hear me say that about solar, Josh, in general, but
I know. I'm just saying, to stay on. Okay.
Josh is a fan.
I think we all are fans.
We definitely
Depends
are.
on the situation, though.
Okay.
A lot of nuance to everything, for sure.
There is.
Anything else that we have today, or I can entertain a meeting or a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All right, I heard Connie first. Connie with the motion. Josh, you get the
Sorry,
second.
John.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye. Thank you. Take
Sorry,
care,
we-
everyone.
This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.